We got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey, I think it's really important before we put this thing to bed. Well, let me take that back. I'll never put this thing to bed. I think it's really important that we have the facts in front of us before we get into this issue one more time. 4 years ago, a sitting American president lost an election and publicly refused to accept that result. 4 years ago, a sitting American president lost an election and refused to publicly concede. The only time in this nation's history that had ever happened. 4 years ago, an American president lost an election, and again, for the first time in American history, that American president refused to participate in the peaceful transfer of power. But for the sake of our brief discussion today, this is what matters. I mean, that's all bad enough, right? Like when we talk about Donald Trump, when we talk about what a horrible person he is, before we get to any crimes he might have committed after the 2020 election, just pause there for a moment. In the entire great long history of this always great country, we've had people run for president, Republicans and Democrats. We've had people lose running for president throughout the years. We've only had one candidate for president, only one in this nation's history who said, I won't accept that loss. I do not concede. And then 4 years ago, that same president actually committed crimes trying to overthrow that election. Actually committed crimes trying to overthrow an American election. A year and a half ago, that former president was indicted for those crimes. A grand jury of his peers, American citizens, found enough evidence to indict him, to send him to trial for crimes trying to overthrow an American election. 4 felony counts. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. Conspiracy to obstruct an official government proceeding. Obstruction of that official government proceeding. And then a conspiracy, charged with a conspiracy against the rights of the American people, trying to overthrow people's votes. Those were the 4 felony counts that Donald Trump was tried with or indicted for, trying to overthrow the 2020 election. Yesterday, all those charges were dismissed. Yesterday, Jack Smith, the special counsel, dismissed all those felony charges. Also dismissed the felony counts against Trump in his obstruction of the classified documents case. Remember, 4 other felonies that Donald Trump was indicted for when it came to the classified documents, willfully taking classified national security documents, making false statements Trump was charged with when it came to those classified docs, and then again, obstructing justice, obstructing the search for those classified documents. Those charges all dismissed yesterday as well. Jack Smith dismissing all the federal charges against Donald Trump. And I got to be honest, not for me, for this country that I love, for America, yesterday really hit me. A bad, dark day. A dark day for this country. As Trump and his supporters celebrated, vindicated, justified, they shouted, aha, the weaponization of the justice system came to an end. It was all a hoax. None of this was real. You're charging him with these crimes, and then he wins an election, and now, poof, they're gone. So it was all political to begin with. Trump and his people charged. Mike Lee, Utah Senator Mike Lee, a guy I used to know pretty well, a guy I served with, he in the Senate, me in the House. Mike Lee came out last night and said, so this whole thing was political? You waited till after the election? And now that the election's gone, you drop all the charges? This is a constitutional lawyer, Mike Lee, a sitting United States senator, who said, oh, so this was all just to try to help, these charges were all about impacting the election, trying to help Trump lose, and as soon as he won, you dropped all the charges? Oh, it was all just political to begin with. I understand why so many of Trump's supporters say shit like that. They don't know any better. They don't understand, like they don't know. I'm willing to bet that most every MAGA person in my grill right now doesn't know why Jack Smith dropped the charges. Mike Lee, though, does. Mike Lee knows, and any informed person knows exactly why Jack Smith dropped these charges. Has nothing to do with whether Trump committed the crimes or not, whether he's innocent or guilty or not, has nothing to do with the merits of the case. Jack Smith, the special counsel, had no choice but to dismiss the charges. As he said, the Department of Justice has this policy. Long-standing policy since Watergate, since 1973, that a sitting president cannot be indicted. A sitting American president cannot be prosecuted. Trump won. He's going to be sworn in a month and a half. According to DOJ policy, can't pursue this case against a sitting American president. That's why Jack Smith dropped the charges. As he said in the statement yesterday, dropping all the charges against Trump. The government's position on the merits of this case haven't changed, but the circumstances have. Trump got elected. He's going to be president in a month and a half. The Department of Justice has this policy that they've had since 1973 that you cannot indict and you cannot prosecute a sitting American president. It doesn't matter. According to DOJ policy, it doesn't matter the magnitude of what that sitting American president has been charged with, shoplifting or murder. DOJ policy is clear on this. Can't indict or prosecute a sitting president. That's why Jack Smith dropped the charges yesterday. Again, I know we live in a post-truth world. And I know Trump, because Trump came out shouting yesterday, and all of Trump's supporters are shouting that this all was a politicization, all a big hoax. It was all to the Justice Department's attempts to impact the election. And once they failed at that, they just dropped the charges and away they go. Nothing could be further from the truth. If it were up to Jack Smith, he would pursue these charges. Trump would sit trial sometime over the next couple of years while he's a sitting president. He either committed these crimes or he didn't. Now, we can talk about, argue about that DOJ policy. By the way, just everybody listening right now, let me repeat, there's nothing in the United States Constitution, nothing in the Constitution that says a sitting president cannot be indicted or prosecuted. Nothing in the Constitution says that. There's no legislative body in America that has said that. Ever since Watergate and Richard Nixon, that has been Justice Department policy. Plain and simple. Why? The Justice Department doesn't want a sitting president entangled in a bunch of legal hassles, a bunch of legal cases. That's why DOJ has this policy. You're the president of the United States. DOJ decided they don't want the president of the United States tied down with legal cases. So can't indict, can't prosecute while he's president. Jack Smith could come back. The Justice Department could come back after Trump's out of office and pursue these trials or charges and try to bring Trump to trial. That's not going to happen. I doubt that will happen. Just point of fact and a reminder, this is exactly what Robert Mueller did. Remember Robert Mueller investigating the Russian collusion? Robert Mueller in 2019 said, I can't bring charges. I can't indict Donald Trump. He's the sitting American president. That's why Robert Mueller, the Mueller report, decided not to pursue charges against Trump. DOJ policy. Nothing to do with the merits of Trump, the Trump campaign colluding with Russia. Here's why this matters so much. And this is why this makes me so sad. Justice Department has this policy, can't go after a sitting president, don't want to tangle him up with legal cases. Well, what about no man in America is above the law? Does that mean a sitting American president is above the law? Does that mean a sitting American president can commit crimes? I tweeted earlier, and I said a bunch last night, that belief, that American creed, that no man is above the law, that creed officially died yesterday. That creed officially died. And I'm disappointed. Yes, I'm disappointed in Merrick Garland. I'm disappointed in the Justice Department. I'm disappointed in Jack Smith. I'm disappointed in the Supreme Court of the United States, which ruled this past summer, basically gave a president a sitting president full immunity to do whatever that president wants to do in office, commit whatever crimes that president wants to commit while in office, as I think it was Kagan, maybe it was Sotomayor, got the witness to acknowledge Trump's lawyer to acknowledge, yes, if a president wanted to order SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponent, a sitting American president could do that and be immune from that while he's the president. I'm disappointed in all of that. I'm disappointed because I started this show 4 years ago. Trump committed these crimes. 4 years ago, Trump pressured the Justice Department. 4 years ago, Trump pressured members of Congress to overthrow the election. 4 years ago, Trump pressured Mike Pence to go against the Constitution. 4 years ago, Donald Trump hatched this plan of these fake electors. 4 years ago, Donald Trump pressured secretaries of states in battleground states to overthrow their election results. 4 years ago, Trump committed crimes trying to overthrow an American election. And here we are 4 years later, and he never had to face any accountability, sit for any trial on those charges. I'm disappointed in the justice system. I'm disappointed in Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, for taking so damn long. But I went to bed last night mostly disappointed in the 76 million Americans who saw what Trump did 4 years ago, lose an election, refuse to concede, and then commit crimes trying to overthrow an election. Like 76 million Americans saw what Trump did 4 years ago, and they still voted for him 3 weeks ago. 76 million Americans. Yes, I'm profoundly disappointed that Donald Trump hasn't faced trial. You don't accept the results of an American election. That's disqualifying. You refuse to publicly concede. That's disqualifying politically. But then you use the powers of your office to commit actual crimes, trying to overthrow an American election. And 76 million people 3 weeks ago looked at all of that and still voted for him. And I know, because I hear from you all every day, of that 76 million people who voted for Trump, maybe 40 to 50 million of them don't believe Trump did anything wrong, don't believe that it was wrong for Trump not to accept the result. They don't think Trump's a poor loser. They got no problem with Trump not conceding. They believe the election was stolen and rigged. That's another thing. Trump lied about all of this before, during, and after the 2020 election. Trump lied thousands of times about a stolen election, still doing it today. That's not, 76 million Americans looked at that and said that's not disqualifying. But again, 40 to 50 million, maybe, or more of those 76 million believe that Joe Biden lost. They believe Trump won. They believe the election was stolen. They don't have any problem with January 6th, right? Again, of that 76 million people who voted for Trump 3 weeks ago, 50 some million of them, maybe, probably, believe January 6th was a good day, a patriotic day. I can't be disappointed that they're that way. Profoundly sad. But it's the other ones. It's the other people who voted for Trump and said, I don't care. We've talked about these people before. Yeah, Joe, what Trump did was bad. not accepting the results of an American election, really bad, Joe, and helping to incite January 6th, really bad, Joe. And January 6th was really bad, Joe. I get all of that, man. And yeah, he's a poor sport. And I know he was lying about the election. I get all of that, Joe, but I don't care. I don't care. I heard that I don't care so often during this campaign. I know Trump did all of this, Joe, but I don't care because the border, because Haitian migrants, because my stock portfolio, because my tax rates, because the economy, because the price of eggs, because whatever. I don't care. Really what they're saying is, and this is why it should matter to all of us. Why the big deal, right? Why can't I let this go? And I'll never let this go. I'll never let this go because of everything Donald Trump did, of every illegal, dishonest, corrupt thing Trump's done over the last 8-9 years. This is the worst because this is the biggest threat to our democracy. I'll never let this go. But to not matter, to not understand why a president, an American president, who doesn't accept the results of an election, then tries to overthrow that election, why that really matters, that he will never be held accountable for that now. Like, why is this a big deal? And don't just rag on Trump, Joe. Tell me, for America, why is it a big deal? Trump's getting away with it. With me? I acknowledge this. Donald Trump is going to get away with these crimes. Donald Trump incited an insurrection, and he is going to get away with it. He will never be held responsible. But why is that a big deal? I'm talking to the I don't care people. MAGA, I'm not talking to you because you all still believe Biden lost. So go sit in the corner, y'all, respectfully right now. I ain't talking to you. I can't change you. You who don't care, I want to change you. I want you to think. I want you to understand why this matters. That a sitting president can try to overthrow an American election, commit crimes in doing so, and he's never going to be held accountable for that. Why is that a bad thing for America? Why does that matter? I start here. Most importantly. No man is above the law. Does that matter? Do you really believe that? Do we as a people really believe that? I said that last night. I said, well, now it's official. It isn't true. The whole no man is above the law thing, not true anymore. And I got bombarded with, Joe, it was never true. No man is above the law. So if you are indicted for crimes, aren't we all supposed to be held accountable for that? We either committed those crimes or we didn't. And does it matter who we are? If we're rich and powerful, we're above the law. If we're a candidate for president and we've been indicted for these crimes and we lose the election, we go to trial. But if we win the election and we become president again, we don't. So if you win an election to become president, you're above the law. What is the deal? Where do you draw that line? Either no man is above the law, all of us, that pertains to all of us, white, black, brown, poor, middle class, wealthy, not powerful, powerful, successful candidate for president or not. He either committed these crimes or he didn't. But we just said yesterday, Jack Smith just said, adhering to Justice Department policy, which I firmly disagree with, but Jack Smith just said, because Donald Trump won the election, he's above the law. That's what Jack Smith said yesterday when he dismissed the charges. That's what he said. The circumstances changed. If Trump had lost to Kamala Harris, his trial would be set for like in February or March. He'd be on trial for these crimes early next year. He'd be held to the law if he had lost. But we just said, the Justice Department just said that if you win an election to become president, you're above the law. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem fair. Again, he either committed these crimes or he didn't. It shouldn't matter if he won or not. And I would say this often, man, if trying to overthrow an American election isn't a crime, then nothing is. Like the severity of this crime for this country. My aunt always used this word closure. The country needs closure. Country's never going to get closure. This was a crime, right? The severity, this is why this is so important. This was a crime against the American people. One of the charges against Trump, one of the felony charges was he conspired against your rights and my rights as voters. He tried to take away our rights as voters. This was not just Donald Trump trying to save his ass and keep his ass in power. This was an attack on our democratic system. He illegally tried to hang on to power, to not have, for a country not to have closure on that issue, to let someone get away with doing that, like the severity of that. And we're living with the consequences of that. Why does this matter? Because 80% of his voters still believe he won. Why does this matter? Because if Trump had lost this November, he'd said he wasn't going to accept the result again. He was going to do the same damn thing again because he wasn't held accountable for what he did in 2020. And because we're not holding Donald Trump accountable for this attack on our democracy in 2020, why won't another candidate for president or any other office do the same damn thing? Refuse to accept the result, refuse to concede, and then try to commit crimes to overturn the election. Why wouldn't any other candidate for president do that moving forward? Trump got away with all of it. He got away with all of it. He hasn't been held accountable, certainly not by the justice system, and he won 3 weeks ago politically. He wasn't held accountable. The despicable and dangerous precedent this sets for the entire country. This will happen again. This will happen again. Why does it matter? Should have seen Trump yesterday. There were reports before yesterday that Trump, once he's sworn in, is going after Jack Smith, going to go after the Justice Department. going to go after everybody in the special counsel's office who investigated the crimes that Trump committed. Trump now is emboldened. He just got off yesterday. He's going to go after them. Do you want that? Do you want Donald Trump declaring war on the justice system? Do you want the Justice Department? Do you want Jack Smith and everybody who worked for Jack Smith? Do you want their lives ruined? If I'm Donald Trump right now, man, he said the coast is clear. I'm coming after you. Reports that Trump was going to pardon January 6th offenders. After what happened yesterday, why wouldn't he now? Oh my God, he got off. He got off. He's not going to be held accountable for any crimes he committed. So I guarantee you, when Donald Trump is sworn in, he will immediately pardon any and all January 6th offenders. People who were found guilty for rioting in the Capitol, injuring police officers, to try to overthrow an American election, to try to find Mike Pence and hang Mike Pence and hang Nancy Pelosi, to try to stop an official government proceeding. A few hundred Americans were charged with that felony, trying to officially stop an official government proceeding, a felony charge. They've been charged. They were found guilty. Trump now is going to pardon them because Donald Trump yesterday had that very same charge dismissed. So get ready, America. Every single American who violently entered that Capitol and set out to violently overthrow an American election, they're all going to get pardoned because of what happened yesterday, because we never held this guy accountable, because you said, half of the 76 million people said it doesn't matter because eggs cost too fucking much. Eggs cost too much. So it doesn't matter what Trump did that led to January 6th. This sets a really, really scary precedent. It's the only time in American history that this has happened. It's the only time in American history that a candidate for president didn't accept the election result. And by the way, he hasn't been held accountable for that. And politically, on November 5th, he was applauded for that. I don't care, 76 million people said. I think even most of you, MAGA, can understand what a dangerous precedent that is, and can understand that now we have opened a Pandora's box with future candidates now saying, fuck it, I don't accept the election results. Donald Trump didn't. It didn't hurt him. Trump lied about the election. It didn't hurt him. In fact, Donald Trump got reelected. I'm going to do the same. See, it matters. We've talked about this before. All my fine Trump supporters, when you tell the world that character doesn't matter, I'm still voting for that guy. When you tell the world that I don't care that he's a pathological liar, I'm still voting for him, you're going to get other pathological liars running for office, Republican and Democrat, and you can't hold them accountable because you didn't hold Donald Trump accountable. No man is above the law. Bullshit. I now live in a country, you now live in a country where that is now officially bullshit. That principle is now officially dead. And I see a couple people as I close, Keith, asking me, what could Jack Smith have done? I said Jack Smith had no other choice. Jack Smith, as he dismissed the charges yesterday, he pretty much said, I had no other choice. If you read between the lines, Jack Smith is saying, look, I know Trump ought to be put on trial for these charges. I believe he committed crimes, but Jack Smith said, I had no choice. This is DOJ policy. He did have a choice. He could have resigned and said, I can't do it. I'm not going to dismiss these charges. That somebody in the Justice Department would have dismissed these charges. It's going to take a piece of legislation or a court ruling to ultimately answer that question. Can a sitting president be indicted, be prosecuted? It's going to take a court ruling and or a piece of legislation. Where I sit, where I stand, my answer is hell yeah. Because if you don't allow it, then you're saying that that guy or that gal in the White House is a king, is a queen, is untouchable, is above the law. If you say, as even Trump's old lawyer said this past summer, whatever that guy does in the White House, he can't be held responsible for. He can't be indicted. He can't be prosecuted. You're saying that the president of the United States is untouchable. He's a king. He's above the law. That can't hold here. This DOJ policy, I get why it's so cautious and so protective, but it can't hold here. Because what Jack Smith did yesterday was wrong. Dismissing the charges are wrong. Because we said yesterday, Trump's above the law. That's what we as a nation said. We said that yesterday. We've said for the past 4 years that it doesn't matter that Donald Trump tried to overthrow an American election. I mean, in a world with their heads on straight, in a world with a moral sensibility, somebody loses an election, lies about it, and then tries to overthrow that election. In a moral, righteous world, that guy is thrown to Siberia, and we never banished to Siberia. We never hear from that person again. But over the course of the past 4 years, the American people have made crystal clear they don't care. That's bad enough. But the Justice Department said yesterday, because Donald Trump won, he's above the law. That's what they said. That's a bad thing, a sad thing. That's a dark thing. But get ready, America. Get ready, America. Right? MAGA, MAGA. You've opened the floodgates. Expect more of this now. I'm Joe Walsh. Thanks for listening. My email, Joe Walsh White Flag, all one word, at gmail.com. Joe Walsh White Flag at gmail.com. Thanks for listening, everybody. Be brave.
Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract with Joe Walsh.